Thank you, Kutluhan, that you found time to answer a few questions that were mailed to me. It's a Dutch woman that has a food forest started in 2022. Uh, this winter she read The One Straw Revolution. Afterwards she came to a presentation about natural farming, and she bought a book, she read a book, and now she is trying to apply natural farming, and there are questions, of course, arising, and well, because I am here now, it's a beautiful occasion to directly can ask you about it. First of our questions was actually, are there farms in Europe, natural farms in Europe, that actually run that way? I mean, not hobby-wise, but professionally.
Yeah, and thank you first of all, Wim, being here, and I'm happy that we can share some time together in Shizen. So about the farms in Europe, well, actually around the world there are many farms that are living by applying natural farming and also surviving economically. And most examples of it I saw in India, in Japan, in South America, but in Europe, as the, let's say, the Western mentality takes over, maybe I cannot give so many examples as it is in the out of the European continent. But one and very big example is the farm of Panos. He basically lived all his life by being a farmer, a natural farmer, by selling the vegetables and fruits from the farm.
Yeah.
This is up to now, let's say, the only example that I can say that was over 30 years of time sustaining the person, the farmer, basically.
Yeah.
There are many other farms, but maybe not economically 100% depending on the farm itself. But I believe the key point why it is like this is because of the mindset that we have towards the life. Not because of the farm is not able to generate money, but it is because how we see the life, how we approach the life.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. She asked, what would you advise when someone starts like she starts with it for the first time? What do's or don'ts can you imagine? Because she starts on let's say 1.5 to 2 hectares with a vegetable garden of 3,500 square meters. Where do you start? What do you best do, and what do you best do not when you start?
Well, first, and I believe the most valuable suggestion in this pet for a person who is now starting the natural farming way, I think it is start with a small part, not with the whole 2 to 3 hectare of land or 3,000 square meter of vegetable garden, but dedicate maybe even half a hectare of the area to a natural farming. This means sowing cover crops and starting to grow trees from seeds, and maybe a vegetable garden, since she already has experience with vegetable garden, maybe a garden of maximum of 500 square meter for the first year.
Yeah.
So that she can, or anyone can, gain some experience by simply applying, and then if she is convinced and if she feels like, then it can grow the surface, but step by step.
Yeah, that sounds logical. Okay. She said last winter or before the winter she saw rye and veg, and in spring she cut the veg and the rye, and she started to plant broccoli.
Okay.
In her case. But now the veg, she said, is all coming through. I mean, it's regrowing and is overgrown the broccoli. So she all the time feels that she has to interfere. Let's say that, and she asks herself, should I have chosen maybe another green manure plant that suits better that situation?
Well, between the, let's say, the cover crops, generally the cover crop idea, the bigger the variety we sow, the better it is. So if she has possibility of sowing 100 varieties, that is even better. But in such a case that veg is returning back, this is not a big problem. Like, as long as veg or any plant that is not taken over the vegetable that we plant, like in that case the broccoli, and if there is a broccoli plant and underneath there is a veg plant, there is no problem at all. It is actually, it's even better, so that there is there is mulch that is coming from cutting the cover crop of autumn seeding, and then there is the main crop, which is the broccoli, and underneath there is the veg, which is not already growing too high.
Yes, but these plants, as I saw on the photo, are still little, and the veg is established already. So
no, if that is the case, then she needs to free the vegetables. Like, veg or any cover crop shouldn't take over the vegetable itself. That is the main.
And or maybe can she add some straw hay? To suppress the veg also.
That can always work, of course, to mulch. Like, even without cutting the veg, simply she can put some more mulch on it, straw or hay, so to suppress a bit the, in that case, the veg.
That was my thought also.
And it is not a difficult plant, like veg already, like, even if it comes, like, it is very easy to suppress, or even if she wants to cut, it is very easy to cut and manage. And it is a very important plant to sow as a cover crop also. So better not to replace it. Like.
She said she in autumn she saw the rye and the veg, and in spring she saw in between other green manure plants that cannot stand frost. But she didn't find anything about of these plants, or very few of these plants. But it seems to me that that is not strange. I mean, that's normal in a beginning situation. Yes.
That is normal.
Yeah, that's normal. The technical part is. Okay. What she also said is, because people are self-harvesting, she said, I have a lot of work to keep the path clean for the people. But I know in natural farming there is no path, but could you say that you simply lay a cover of hay and straw, and that suppresses the weed, and that is simply your path? I mean, it
is exactly the
For us, maybe it's become a simple answer, but but I understand. Okay. Yes, she also says I can get over my heart to cut green manure plants that are flowering, although I should, because I want to plant something. But when I see all the insects, but okay, that's her perception, of course, that she can get over her heart. But I would say when there is a abundance of other flowering plants, you do nothing wrong. I would say.
Well, of course, like, if you need to start the garden, if it is the time of planting vegetables, you need to cut the cover crop. Like, it is, I also understand and feel it when they are in full flower. You see all the flies, butterflies, insects. That is like a beautiful, watching like a beautiful
harmony
of the scene of the nature. But like, it is the way it is, you need to cut. But anyway, there will be other parts of the farm, since we are talking about over an hectare or 2 hectare of area. There will be other parts still in flower, and insects will simply move to the other parts.
Yeah, that's true. Okay. She said that she did already experiment with the rye and veg, and then simply lay it down and then plant in between. But could that method be applied for all sorts of vegetables? Um, my personal opinion is the layer is not thick enough. I think because yeah.
Yeah, first years it will not be thick enough. Like
Mm.
that is
Yeah.
true. In that case, it is better to add some more material, mulch material from outside.
Yes.
This can be straw or hay.
Yeah.
But the first years it will not be enough.
And from a perspective of holding enough moisture in the soil and so on and so on.
Yeah.
And later on, when the moss has, let's say, the layer of moss has established, then it's enough that you only cut your green manure plants like the rye and then plant in between.
This will happen only after 3-4 years of time. Like
Yeah.
that you have enough mulch by cutting your cover crop.
Yeah.
But it will arrive there.
Yeah. It's not the best method as I see, but okay. Yeah, how do now she makes beds, let's say that, and she a whole bed of 50 meter long, 1.5 meter wide. She sows carrots, for example. Yeah, she said, how can I do that in natural farming?
Yeah.
You need, I would say, yeah, you just need more space. I mean, you cannot sow one row next to another, or can you?
No, like for example, crops like carrots or parsnip, which
Yeah.
they have very small seeds,
Yeah.
and also it will not occupy a lot of space when you put it in the soil. Then, even in that case, if you have the whole area, vegetable garden area, you can open the mulch, maybe not 1.5 meter, but a
No.
bit shorter, a bit smaller, and still it can be 50 meter long if she feels like,
Yeah.
and can be sown carrots. Like
But
nothing,
then you sow carrots, for example, 30 centimeters.
for example,
Yeah, you
distance
open
from
the
each other.
mulch for 30 centimeters, and then you
And then
sow.
maybe 2 rows. Or,
Yeah, what you want. Yeah.
Because if you open whole 1.5 meter, then the soil will be exposed too much to the
To the
this-
drought.
Yeah,
To
the drought.
yeah, to even kijken. Yeah. Yeah. And then she said, she planted all sorts of kale, and she had laid straw before. She already worked with straw on the beds, and but the straw starts to germinate, or the seeds that are in the straw. How do you handle them?
Well, that happens a lot, but those seeds actually they germinate in the mulch. They don't even germinate in the soil.
Yeah.
So you can, if you want to avoid that situation totally, one thing you can do is to leave straw one season outside, so that the rain falls and
Yeah.
the seeds germinate. So
Yeah.
the next season you have you have the straw free of seeds.
Yeah.
But if you need to use immediately for one reason or another, and you don't have any other source, so then just use it. And when you see that they are germinating, you can simply lift the mulch with a fork.
Yeah.
And then put again.
Yeah.
For example, here there are some plants germinating through the mulch. Just take the fork, lift it, and suffocate again with the mulch itself. So you don't need to weed physically,
Yeah.
but simply put the
Yeah.
mulch on it, and they will slow down.
Yeah.
And in the first year, there will be some plants coming anyway.
Yeah.
Through the mulch. It's very normal.
Yeah.
But
And how do you? Because I know she bought straw, but it was not organic straw, and she is in doubt about it. Of course, should I use it? Shouldn't I use it? Am I bringing problems into my land or not? Do you have experience with that? Or
yeah, to find straw free of chemical, it is more difficult than the hay.
yeah,
Theoretically,
Yeah.
this is the way it is. But let's look at the origin of it. Like if you already eat that grain that is harvested from that straw, so you take those chemicals to your body, and then the straw returns back to the soil. So in ideal world, there wouldn't be those chemicals, and we wouldn't eat it, and that straw wouldn't go back to soil anyway. But if this is the case, like you have no other option, and this is the only straw you can find, and it is chemically treated, maybe in that case, if she doesn't want to use it, it can be a good idea to use only hay.
Yeah.
which is easier to find, and
Yeah.
try to grow her own straw from the rye that she's cultivating, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah.
That can work. Or worst case, to take big quantity of straw and leave it outside for 2 years, 3 years, and all the chemicals wash away,
Yeah.
and then you can use it as a mulch if she wants to be 100% sure about it.
Because probably when you leave the straw outside, it already starts composting. Fungi and bacteria are already starting to decompose or to compose. Yeah, to decompose the straw.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like the hay, for example, that you have here.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, that's a very good example of it. Now let's have a look. Yes. There's one question that I can answer myself to her, but maybe you can explain it yourself. It's about sowing cover crops on a layer of mulch. How do you do it? You explained it in the workshops, I know, but maybe you can explain it now for her. And when don't you do it?
Yeah. Well, it is the important point is that the mulch shouldn't be thicker than 10 centimeter. If you are going to sow the cover crop seeds on the mulch, that is what we practice also here every year. But important, actually, one of the most important thing in that case is that the mulch is not thicker than 10 centimeter. If that is the case, she can easily sow without any problem.
And is there a preference that you say, should it be better seed balls or just soaking seeds?
That depends on the season and depends on your climate. For example, for us, if we are going to make some seeding in springtime, I prefer the seed balls. But if we are making seeding in autumn, which is very easy to catch even a week of constant rain, so then I prefer to soak the seeds and then make direct seeding.
Yeah.
I believe in the Netherlands also, like, you have good rains, and it is not so difficult to catch some days of rain.
Yeah.
So it can be convenient also to make the direct seeding after soaking and after pre-germination.
Yeah, and during seeding seeds sowing during a rain, so that they can infiltrate in the mulch and less be eaten, of course. Yeah. Let's see what she had to ask now. Yeah, she wanted. She said she wants to harvest vegetables already in May. Is that possible? I think the confusion is about sowing cover crops in spring, but she already wants to. I mean, for example, salad or some other vegetables already harvest in May, and then I think that's the confusion that she doesn't understand. But yeah, first you are in April, you're sowing cover crops, and in May I want already having salad. But well, how would you explain that? So how can you handle that, you say?
Clearly, if you want to harvest salads in May, that means already in April you have to put the salads in the soil.
Yeah.
And if you are transplanting.
Yeah.
So in that case you cannot sow cover crop. Like there is no time for cover crop to grow and establish biomass and with the roots enrich the soil. So in that case you sow the salads, and maybe you can sow the cover crop after the salads.
Yeah.
So important is that within a year of time you find a spot to grow the cover crop, so that it can serve as a mulch and enrich the soil with the roots of the plants.
Yeah.
So it is, let's say, the general idea that is adapting very well for the vegetable garden, sowing the cover crop in autumn or dividing into autumn and spring depending on the climate, and then cutting the cover crop a bit before than the, let's say, main vegetable garden starts. But if you have crops like greens, like the leafy vegetables that can be sown end of winter or early spring, clearly the cover crop you cannot put in that time. But you can move the cover crop afterwards. Maybe after the salad, sow the cover crop. This can be buckwheat, for example, or millet,
Yeah.
or any other plants. And then after that, again, maybe towards autumn, one more crop.
Yeah.
So important is that during the year of a growing time, you at some point you sow also cover crop and you grow in the area
Yeah.
the cover crop.
Yes, because now she says I'm doing my best to sow as much as I can flowering plants, but so because she finds it important that insects come to attract insects, of course, but uh, the the green manure plants, let's say buckwheat or phacelia, etc., are also plants. So when you have that attract insects. Um, so when you have, for example, this salad, you harvest the salad and then you sow phacelia. Well, 4 weeks later or 5 weeks later, it is flowering. So then you have your attractive flowering plants already. Yeah? So by using green manure plants, you can also have the effect of flowers in your garden that make insects come and attractive. I think that is a bit the questions she had written down. I have one question of my own. Uh, because I read it on the natural farming chat from several people. I think I talked about it already to you. That they say there are. I saw cover crops, or I saw carrots, or I saw beans, and I don't see anything coming up. And there's also one person, and me myself also, we have these underground mice, these voles, I think, or arvicola in Italian, I think. Okay, so can they eat these, maybe some seeds, or maybe ants eat seeds, or
That
take
is-
seeds away, or
That is possible. Like they can eat, but if you say zero germination, that is not an animal. Like that is not an animal effect. Because even if there are some, the like this arvicole, the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mouse like that are
Yeah.
living under the mulch,
Yeah.
or ants, for sure they will move some seeds. They will eat. That is not no doubt. But if you see no germination at all, I don't think that is the case of animals. So to give a try, for example, in that case, you can maybe try with seed balls to see if it is really the animals,
Yeah.
because they will not carry the seed balls away, so you can see the whether it is germinating or not.
Mm.
But it can be like just because we have also experienced once in a place, they use straw, and that straw was you sprayed with herbicides, and that herbicides that was in the straw, that was basically stopping all the germination. So in that year we didn't have any seed germinating in one specific garden. So that can be one reason.
Yeah.
If because zero germination is like really, like I don't think that is the animal effect. Like
No, no. Okay, and that brings me to the last question. Actually, can it be drought also, lack of water? I mean, that it didn't germinate, or that it maybe started germinating and afterwards it got drier, and then this germinated plant died off.
that is possible. Like for example, in your climate, especially in springtime, I don't think they would die after germinating because of the drought. Like even here till June, let's say, after germination, plants can handle alone even without watering. But in order to germinate the seeds, you need constant humidity.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't dry.
Yeah.
Basically, like you can sow and you cannot just go away after sowing the seeds. You have to control and keep constantly humid the seeds.
Yes, because that is what I see here. That from time the younger plants and also some seeds, that you from time to time watch which plant needs a bit of attention or a bit of water.
Of course.
And yes, and that's of course. But when you the 5 principles or the 4 principles of natural farming, when people think, oh, no watering, so I mean, but you have to specify it. It's more specific. No watering when a plant is fully established. Then it needs no watering. That is the meaning of no watering.
Yeah, like for example, what happened this year in this region? We had May, which was very cold, and a lot of rain. Like we had 2 times of frost, and one was in around 10th of May, and the second one we get 24th of May. It was a light frost, but it was very unusual, and unfortunately we had to put 3 times in some part of the vegetable garden, and especially the pepper and eggplants, they suffer a lot. So they couldn't grow in May, which was the season normally, the month that they grow, and June they start producing. So as they couldn't grow, or some of them even died, so they didn't establish. And June came, extreme hot temperatures started, over 33, 34 degrees, and plants remained very small. So in that case, we give them every some days water till we see the first a few fruits. So that means plants reach to the point of, let's say, they're starting to produce, and not anymore little plant. In that case,
like zucchinis who start to flower,
Exactly.
for example. Then you know, okay, this
they are,
plant has established well now, and
they can handle.
I don't need to water it.
Exactly. And no watering, like literally means like there is no irrigation system, but this doesn't mean that we never use water. In the case of we are sowing seeds, for example, if we make some seeding this period, next 10 days it seems over 30 degrees every day with no rainfall. So you have to water the seeds, otherwise they cannot germinate. Like you cannot expect to sow seeds in the dry moment, dry climate, like without watering they will they will not make it. So
I think that is a very important point that is maybe sometimes misunderstood. And okay, no, well, I think we've gone through a lot of questions, and it's very well, very worthwhile to hear them sometimes, to hear sometimes things again, but from another from another perspective. It's thank you very much. Thank you very much, of course, that we stayed a few days with you, and it was very nourishing for us both to be. Thank you for
coming.
everything. Thank you.
Beautiful to spend time together.
Yeah.